Hey guys, it's Timmy, and this is Pro Wrestling Unlimited, as we are here on the 18th of February talking Monday Night Raw. Sean Cook, no, we're not late. Tonight's Monday Night Raw took place in Lafayette, Louisiana, and unfortunately, this crowd was just not into this show. I don't know what was going on with this crowd. I don't know why they were just so dead for 99% of the show. It felt like maybe I'll give them the benefit of the doubt. Maybe it was like 90% of the show that they were dead for. But for a lot of this show, they were very, very dead. But I mean, other than that, there were some big things that happened. 4 guys from NXT made their debuts on Monday Night Raw. I don't know if this is in fact 100% a official call-up for all 4 of these guys. I did hear that Vince McMahon just randomly wanted to shake things up, and so he said, hey, let's bring some guys up. And unfortunately, this was not good for both Nikki Cross and EC3, as we did not see them on the show tonight. We saw Lacey Evans briefly. We saw Heavy Machinery briefly. But as far as the others, I don't know what's going on. Maybe they show up on SmackDown tomorrow. But again, the big thing to talk about, which we really don't need to talk about, but the big thing about this show was that the crowd was just not into anything, and it really just, from the inset of the show, when Triple H came out there, really showed that they were not going to care about this show. Before we get started, let's see who's with us in the chat. We've got Beastie Boy 124, Robert Velaz Jr., Christopher Rotz, Ashton Tyler, Woken King Slender, Mystic Eclipse, Matthew Palencia, Kristen McNutt, Mr. Jones is me, Larana Nation, and Jeff Guevara, and a bunch of others too. So it's just weird. So Monday Night Raw kicks off with a memorial graphic for Pedro Morales. Luke we have no clue what's going on with Lars. Triple H is in the ring, or coming to the ring as the show begins. He said history was made last night at the Elimination Chamber when Sasha Banks and Bayley became the first ever Women's Tag Team Champions. He also put over Finn Balor winning the Intercontinental Championship. He mentioned that Kofi came so close to winning last night and stole the hearts of many. Triple H also mentioned Becky Lynch wasn't going to allow a 60-day suspension to stop her after she got the best of Charlotte Flair and Ronda Rousey last night. He said, but from a corporate standpoint, he has to say that if she does this again, she's going to be arrested. But from a personal standpoint, he thought it was pretty cool. He would then go on to mention that, hey, D-Generation X is going into the Hall of Fame. And I want to know from you guys in the live chat or in the comments below if you're watching later, what you guys think of D-Generation X going into the Hall of Fame. DX is going in, and it's not just Triple H and Shawn Michaels. It's Triple H, Shawn Michaels, X-Pac, Billy Gunn, the Road Dogg, and yes, the 9th wonder of the world, China. All of them will be going into the Hall of Fame this year. And also, maybe this is just me that noticed this, but new Hall of Fame graphics. I like that. New Hall of Fame graphics. So with that, Triple H then mentioned that things are about to change. He said that he runs 3 brands: Raw, SmackDown, and NXT. He thought he was going to get a nice NXT chant, and the crowd just was quiet. He goes, this is live TV. We can just restart that. Let me try that again. I run 3 brands, and that's 3 touring brands: Raw, SmackDown, and NXT. Like 6 guys, maybe 12, maybe a dozen guys out of everybody that was there chanted for NXT. It was, from then on, you just were like, this crowd's going to just be dead. So he would go on to mention that 4 guys from NXT will be debuting tonight on the main roster. He would then announce the guys one by one, starting with Ricochet, and then Michael Cole would run them down with a small little video package. So we saw that Ricochet, Aleister Black, Johnny Gargano, and Tommaso Ciampa would all be on Raw tonight. Triple H then said, that's all well and good, but, you know, he didn't. I don't remember the exact words he used, but he basically said shit's about to hit the fan. He said, you see all these tables out here around ringside? Well, that's because we got a tables match coming up next. And so Baron Corbin comes out. Braun Strowman comes out first, and then Baron Corbin for a tables match. And basically from right here, we learned that almost everything that happened at Elimination Chamber did not matter. So last night, it was a no disqualification match between Braun Strowman and Baron Corbin. We know that Drew McIntyre and Bobby Lashley both got involved, helping Baron Corbin win. And then tonight, we had a 13 and a half minute tables match between Corbin and Strowman, where Strowman just ended up winning in the end. Nobody came out for interference or anything. Baron Corbin's buddies didn't come help him. And yeah, Corbin worked over Strowman early on. Strowman then at one point started selling the beating he got from last night with the ribs and whatnot. Strowman had athletic tape all over his ribs and back area. Corbin yelled at some kid in the front row and then pulled Strowman over towards them so he can punch Strowman right in front of them. Strowman then would counter a attack from Corbin with a vertical suplex on the ramp. Strowman set up the announce table, but Corbin pushed him into it as Cole dramatically let us know that the match will continue after the break. So a little bit later on in the match, there was a scary-looking spot where Corbin came off the apron. Then Strowman suddenly hoisted up the steel steps and hit him with the point of the steps. That looked a little bad. Corbin did the thing where he slips out of the ring with an Irish whip and slides back in under the ropes, but Strowman grabbed him and power slammed him through a table set up in the corner. Strowman wins. And yeah, it was 13 minutes of almost nothing, to be honest. As Strowman was leaving, Paul Heyman would appear at the top of the ramp. Strowman would then try to intimidate Paul Heyman. He grabbed Heyman by the throat. The crowd chanted for more tables, but then Strowman just let him go. And then Heyman went to talk, and he goes, I need a minute, and then went to commercial. Kind of a good way to get to a commercial break. So you've got, Heyman out there. He just had his throat kind of squished, crushed. We gotta give the fellow a little time to recuperate. When we come back from commercial, we learned that Gargano and Champa will be teaming up tonight to take on the Revival, the Raw Tag Team Champions. Yes, the Revival versus DIY. Ho, 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 ho. Oh, yeah. Also, we learned in something that didn't really matter from last night, Ruby Riott getting another title shot against Ronda Rousey. Like, what? What? It made no sense to me. Ruby lost in 1 minute and 40-something seconds last night. Why the heck would she be getting another title opportunity tonight? Just it baffled me when I saw that graphic come up on the screen. I was like, wait, no. Huh? So, a commercial aired for Total Divas where they wanted us to know that, hey, Brie Bella set up Nikki Bella on a date with some guy that was on The Bachelor, or The Bachelorette. I don't know which one. I think it was The Bachelorette. It was one of the bachelors on The Bachelorette. Cool. Like, that's really going to get people to watch, because people don't watch the show already. Anyways. So, after a commercial break, Heyman was in the ring. He said he wasn't surprised by Strowman's antics. He said everyone was jealous of his client. Heyman then showed a video package letting us know everything that Brock has accomplished in his career, not just in WWE, but amateur-wise and in the UFC. It was funny, though, because he's sitting here, he's telling us what his video is going to be, and then he sends it to the video, and the video starts off with him talking and narrating. So it's like, he should have just narrated it live. It was okay. After the video played, he said this WrestleMania was different from past Manias because this time, our hero had no hope. He said Lesnar developed killer instinct growing up on a farm and went on to become the best collegiate wrestler in the country. Lesnar didn't seek a career in WWE. They sought him. He said after 6 months, he defeated the biggest draw of that time, The Rock, for the WWE Championship. The rest of the video covered his time in the UFC, defeating Randy Couture to become the UFC heavyweight champion, and then defeating The Undertaker at WrestleMania. Heyman would then ask the crowd if they thought Seth Rollins was a serious contender. They received a modest reaction, and that's giving them credit. Balor would then interrupt, and Heyman would just disappear, and then after a commercial, Finn Balor was in the ring by himself. Like, what? Okay, where'd Heyman go? You just randomly interrupt him, and he just says, okay, bye, Finn. I thought this was going to lead to, like, Finn saying, Seth, he may have a good shot. I almost took down Brock Lesnar. I almost beat your boy. Maybe Seth can do what I couldn't get done. But it was weird. Heyman didn't even seem like he was done talking when Finn's music hits, and then they just go to commercial. So after the break, Balor said that it's been a while since he wore championship gold, and it felt good. He mentioned championships he's won in the past, or champions from the past, including Razor Ramon, Shawn Michaels, Ric Flair, and said it was a dream of his to become the Intercontinental Champion. And then, who would interrupt? Lio Rush. So remember when we said, Ronda beating Ruby Riott in a minute and 40-something seconds really didn't matter because Ruby got another shot the next night? Well, if you remember, after Finn Balor became the Intercontinental Champion, Bobby Lashley basically beat down Lio Rush. Well, that didn't matter because Lio Rush would interrupt, and then what would happen? Bobby Lashley would attack from behind. They're friends again, still okay. Some of the people you can hear in the crowd shrieking after Lashley appeared from behind attacking Balor. Rush and Lashley teamed up on Balor, double teaming him. Rush landed a nice frog splash when Ricochet would then come out to make the save. Ricochet used a moonsault off the apron to take out both men, then a diving drop kick to take the moonsault off the apron to take out Rush with a diving drop kick to take out Lashley. Ricochet received a good reaction from the crowd, as good as this crowd was going to give. And I almost didn't like this. The match itself was good. It ended up being Finn Balor and Ricochet taking on Bobby Lashley and Lio Rush in an almost 20-minute match. I think it went about 18 minutes. But here's the thing. I didn't like this because Ricochet just seemed like a guy. Yeah, hey, here's a new guy. But he didn't seem special like Champa and Gargano ended up seeing special. And as I'll talk about here in a little bit as well, I really didn't feel like Aleister Black seemed that special either. Though, could have been the crowd not knowing who they were. Could have been this crowd that was just, they barely watched the main roster, as we could tell, because they didn't cheer or boo much for many of them. Before this match started, we did get a promo stating that tomorrow night, Daniel Bryan's Fastlane challenger will be announced on SmackDown, and The Miz is going to issue an apology to Shane McMahon. But will Shane McMahon accept? That was a little tagline, a little cliffhanger at the end of the promo. So we did get, like I said, Balor and Ricochet taking on Lashley and Rush. Renee Young kept suggesting that Rush was like a child trying to make his dad Lashley proud. Early on, Ricochet got the upper hand of Rush. Rush would tag out, and Lashley worked over Ricochet for a bit. Ricochet fought him off and faked a dive. That annoyed Lashley. Balor tagged in, and he worked over Lio Rush for a little while. He hit some chops in the corner, a sling blade running drop kick, but before he could go for a coup de grace, he had to fend off Bobby Lashley, which allowed Rush to chop block him. Lashley drove him into the barricade and took control. After commercial break, Rush, who Renee Young was still comparing to a child, and Bobby Lashley continued working over Balor. He eventually hit a double stomp on Lashley and made a hot tag to Ricochet, who ran wild on Rush. Ricochet hit a dive on Rush, but did a moonsault off the barricade to avoid Bobby Lashley. Balor dropkicked Lashley into the barricade. Then Ricochet hit Rush with a 630 for the victory. So yeah, Ricochet picked up the victory over Rush. But to me, it was just like, hey, here's this new guy. He's going to be randomly put into a tag team match to help Finn Balor. It really just didn't seem that special to me. Like, he should have got more of his entrance. Like, he didn't even get an entrance. He just ran out. His music played and he ran out. Should have saw that entrance with, like, the lasers and all that to make him seem like a big deal. Not just, oh, hey, this guy ran out. You may not know who he is, but he's going to help Finn. So backstage, Natalya was speaking with Triple H when Drew McIntyre interrupted. McIntyre didn't seem to appreciate the attention of the incoming NXT superstars. He didn't like what all the attention Rollins was getting either, even though Rollins is going up against Lesnar at the main event of WrestleMania. Well, one of the main events. McIntyre thought that should have been him and wanted a match with Rollins. Dean Ambrose would then walk in and just randomly smack McIntyre. Like, really, guy? What? Ambrose then left, and Triple H goes, sure you don't want him instead? McIntyre told him, change the match. They would then go on to recap everything that happened last night with Lynch, Ronda Rousey, Charlotte Flair. Cole said, no matter what you think of this situation, Lynch is suspended for 60 days. We'll see. One note here, though, is local advertising is no longer advertising Charlotte versus Becky for Fastlane. So that's interesting. So then we got a quick 3.5-minute tag team match. Grand Metalik and Lince Dorado taking on Kurt Hawkins and Zack Ryder in an awkward moment where Metalik and Dorado couldn't seem to agree on whether they were going to do a combined Irish whip or chops. Ryder just had to stand there and just wait until they figured out what they were doing. Hawkins tagged in, ran wild, knocked Metalik off the apron, then got hit with a Hurricane Rana by Dorado and pinned. Yes, Hawkins and Ryder lose again. This needs to be building to some huge win, I would assume. But at the same time, it's like, oh, I don't know. Hopefully they get a big win. I don't know who that could be against. There's not really many teams on Raw that you can consider big victories, but I guess for them, any victory is a big victory. So then in a very weird, awkward situation, Charlie Caruso brought out heavy machinery on the stage, Tucker and Otis. Corey Graves did not know which was which, because he goes, you might need Rosetta Stone to understand Tucker. And Renee goes, Otis. He goes, yeah, Otis. No, he must not know who's who. And then Tucker called Otis his little bro, his little brother. He's like, me and my little brother. Like, what? Tucker said that they were blue collar solid, and they love red meat. They also referred to each other as brothers. Like I said, Lacey Evans' music would then hit. She literally would walk down, use the ramp as a runway, and walk back up. So what happens? Heavy Machinery's music hits, and they strut down the ramp, come back up. They then walked around Lacey Evans a few times. She kind of seemed flattered. I don't know if that's the right word to use. And then it was over. What the hell was this? I have no idea what this was. Like, they want us to take all these call-ups serious, but then Lacey is just another Eva Marie, and Heavy Machinery is God, I don't know what. They're like Bushwhackers 2.0. Ha! Steve Emblem in the chat says Edge and Christian were brothers. They were for a couple years, and then all of a sudden they weren't. So we'll see what happens. There was then a commercial that aired in Toronto advertising Braun Strowman versus Baron Corbin at a local house show. We then saw Gargano and Champa backstage. They were there to represent NXT. They both had their championships with them. And then they were approached by Bobby Roode and Chad Gable. Roode congratulated them on making it here to the main roster. But he and Gable were confused why they were getting an opportunity against the Raw Tag Team Champions when you're supposed to start from the bottom. You're supposed to work your way up when you come up from NXT, not just all of a sudden get a match against the champions. Gargano said that they've been running NXT for 2 years, and they were here to take over. This would then lead the Revival to come in, mocking DIY. Gargano recalled their great match back in the day. Ciampa said that they were going to make an impression at Revival's expense and wished them good luck. Revival said, we don't need luck. So then we get the NXT champion Tommaso Ciampa and the NXT North American champion Johnny Gargano against the Raw Tag Team Champions, the Revival, in an 11-minute match. Why did this match only get 11 minutes when the doggone Finn Balor, Ricochet, Bobby Lashley, Lio Rush match got 18? You could have cut 3 minutes off of that and gave them both 15 if you really wanted Ricochet to have a long match. I mean, this match was good, but it's like most people know that these two teams are just great against each other. Oddly enough, both Gargano and Ciampa played the babyface role. Announcers brought up the 2 out of 3 falls match from NXT TakeOver Toronto. Gargano took out the Revival with a combo Enziguri Tornado DDT, and then tagged in Ciampa, who hit rolling German suplexes. Revival hit Ciampa with a combo backbreaker back elbow for a 2. Gargano gave Dash Wilder a slingshot DDT for a near fall. Then Scott Dawson took out Ciampa on the outside. Gargano tried a spear, but Wilder caught him with a knee. Revival gave Gargano a Steinerizer, but Ciampa broke up the cover. Gargano fought off Wilder and caught Dawson with a spear. Then DIY hit their patented super kick knee combo for the victory. Great match, but this crowd was just so dead. Like, Ciampa and Gargano came out with their belts, and the crowd barely reacted. Noah Hall, no, this was not heel DIY. These two worked so much like baby faces. You know, Steve Emblem, I don't like that saying, SCU's worst town I've ever been in. But Lafayette tonight really was the worst town WWE's been in a very long time. I will give them that. Lafayette was the worst crowd. I do not remember a crowd being this down for so much of a show. You've got DIY versus the Revival, and you don't give two rats about it? What the fuck? Like, really? Yeah, I said that. Because that's how upsetting this was. So, after the match, Charlie Caruso interviewed Balor and Ricochet backstage. She spoke to Balor first. But he said, tonight wasn't about me. My night was last night at the Elimination Chamber. Tonight's all about Ricochet. He left and let Ricochet take over the interview. Ricochet said it was a dream come true tonight. And we haven't seen the last of him. He seemingly genuinely was excited about being on Raw tonight. Then we got a selfie promo from Kevin Owens. He spoke about being only a few weeks away from his comeback. He said there wasn't much of an update. He's still doing rehab and spending time with his family. He was at a movie theater and was giving his son a hard time for not getting any change from the money he gave him to go get popcorn. Kind of funny. Owens ate some of the popcorn. Hee, cool. Kevin Owens coming back relatively soon. So then Bayley and Sasha would come out with their newly won Women's Tag Team Championships, or as Bayley said, just WWE Tag Team Championships. Crowd was kind of into this. I mean, do I have to keep saying that, though? Like, they lightly chanted, "You deserve it." And so Sasha and Bayley got choked up and was like, "Thank you." Like, 6 people, 12 people, like a dozen people out of the 1,000 or so that were there. A couple thousand maybe. I don't even know. Banks said that they were proud to be the champions. They were ready to defend their titles against anybody, past, present, Raw, SmackDown, or even NXT. So, that's a good sign that Sasha and Bayley can show up at the next set of NXT TV tapings if they really wanted to. Or, yeah, they can. Because, they tape multiple weeks in a row. So maybe you have a team like Jessamine Duke and Marina Shafir. I think I said this last night. Call them out. And then later on in the tapings, because it's another episode they're taping, Bayley and Sasha show up and say, "Hey, you wanted a shot? Let's go." So I like the fact that Bayley and Sasha can be anywhere. But they also said against anyone past and present. And I have seen a lot of people suggest Trish and Lita challenge at Mania. I don't know if I like that. It'd probably be a pretty good match. But it's like, give people like that are on the roster an opportunity. But we'll see. We'll see where it goes. Bayley said that there was no stronger connection than the boss and hug connection. Banks added, and you can bank on that. Like, they had to get their catchphrases in. And then Nia and Tamina came out, and Nia goes, hey, it's the Women's Tag Team Championships. Oh, and Sasha. That's woman with an E, not an A. She made reference to Sasha never is able to defend a championship. She always loses it on her first defense. And excuse me, Sasha is usually all about herself. She said that Banks only cared about herself, and we know where that's going to lead to. Tamina said their luck has run out, and we're about to attack, but Bayley and Banks easily fought them off. Cool. I guess Nia and Tamina may be the challengers for Fastlane. I still think it should be Sonya Deville and Mandy Rose, but we'll see if they show up on SmackDown tomorrow. They then aired a video package talking about DX going into the Hall of Fame. We'll then get a 2-minute match between Drew McIntyre and Dean Ambrose. Shortly after Ambrose had nailed a suicide dive and a neckbreaker, McIntyre cut him off with a Claymore kick. Instead of going for the cover, McIntyre hit a second Claymore kick and then pinned him. Crowd looked stunned in silence, like they didn't know how to react to this. But they hadn't known how to react to anything tonight, so it was like, cool. Then we got part two. Sorry, my notes were all jumbled up there. We got part 2 of Lesnar's hype video from Paul Heyman. He showed clips of Lesnar destroying John Cena, Randy Orton, AJ Styles, Daniel Bryan, Goldberg, Ambrose, Joe, Strowman, Reigns, and Seth Rollins. Heyman acknowledged that Rollins would keep fighting and Lesnar would have to put him down. He said that wasn't a prediction. It was the end of the story of a man called Seth Rollins. But we'll see where it goes. I think this could be a sleeper match. You know, Roman versus Brock Lesnar was never really that great, but maybe the smaller Seth Rollins, the more high-flying, quicker Seth Rollins can pull something out of Brock, because Brock likes working with those quick, high-flying kind of guys. Now, Seth's not high-flying or as quick as like an AJ or a Daniel Bryan, but he's closer to them than Roman Reigns was, so we'll see where that goes. Backstage, Rollins told Charlie Caruso that he would never call Heyman a liar because everything he said about Lesnar was the truth. He said that he was walking into WrestleMania with an acceptance of his fate, and Lesnar needs to do the same because it was over for Lesnar and his reign of terror. Rollins said whether he walks out on his own 2 feet or is carried out on a stretcher, he's leaving with the championship. Ambrose appeared behind him and said, "Hey, where were you out there?" Rollins asked if he had lost his mind, and Ambrose had an amusing facial reaction, which got a laugh from the crowd, and they said, and left. Like, really? He thought that Seth was going to come save him from McIntyre? Yeah, okay. Elias comes out after a commercial break, and he starts talking to the crowd and all this, and certainly we know what's going to happen. Someone's going to interrupt him. We hadn't heard yet who Aleister Black was going to face tonight because, you know, they said it with everybody else, so I'm thinking, please don't make this Aleister. And Aleister Black would come out. Aleister Black got his full entrance, like he does usually at takeovers, not just his normal NXT entrance. Black had a microphone and said, "If silence and deep sleep is what you seek, then allow me to help you. For tonight, you will fade to black." The announcers had 100 buzzwords for Aleister Black, calling him more than one different nickname. And then we got an 8-minute match between Aleister Black and Elias. Black faked a dive and did his whole handspring off the ropes into a Indian sit-down, cross-legged. They went to commercial break 25 seconds into this match, and Michael Cole said that Aleister Black is in control. Like, nobody's in control right now. After a break, Black fought off Elias. He hit a sliding knee and a springboard moonsault for a 2. Black hit a back elbow on Elias, but Elias caught him off the top rope with a rising knee. Elias set up for a neck breaker, but Black reversed into the Black Mass, pinning him. 1, 2, 3. All 4 NXT call-ups tonight did get victories, so that was good. So it's fine, but I really wish that it would have just been Black winning in like 2 minutes with that Black Mass over Elias. Michael Cole did try to put that Black Mass over like 5 times towards the end of the match. We then got a video, well, not a video, but a graphic stating that next week in Atlanta is Ric Flair's birthday. Come one, come all. So then, Ronda Rousey defending against Ruby Riott in an 11.5 minute match. What? Why did this match needed to go this long? Now, so you know how I said earlier, a lot of things that happened at Elimination Chamber last night did not matter? Well, here's another thing that didn't frickin' matter. We had Ronda Rousey defeating Ruby Riott in 1 minute and 40-something seconds last night. And then not only does she get another championship opportunity the next night, a rematch, but she frickin' goes 11.5 minutes. Like, what? And the announcers kept playing this up like, oh, well, the only reason Ruby lost so quick last night is because she didn't have her Riott Squad by her side. Her Riott Squad, you're going to help her through this tonight. Yeah, well, we saw them help her a couple times. So Rousey was just all business when she came down to the ring. Rousey was not wearing her Sonya Blade gear that she wore the night before. I mean, why? It's not a pay-per-view. She was wearing very generic gear. Didn't even have anything that said Rowdy Ronda Rousey on it. So Ruby ran right at her at the onset of this match, and Ronda just basically judo throwed her. And I'm thinking, okay, this match is going to end quick. And then we got headlocks. Riott hit a spear for a 2, and then applied a headlock as the crowd chanted, "We want Becky." Riott slapped Rousey, so Rousey came back with strikes, and it was funny. Rousey puts Ruby in the corner. Rousey throws 1-2. So Ruby tries to throw one back, and Ronda's so far away from her. Ronda still does the whole duck and pivot back. Like, what? You're like 2 arm lengths away. You don't got to duck and pivot back out of the way. So Rousey hits a leaping elbow. Riott countered an elbow. Drove her into the turnbuckle and hit a diving senton for a 2. Rousey went for a Samoan drop, but Riott slipped out of it. Hit a headbutt and Riott kick for a near fall. Rousey came back with a gut wrench slam, but was distracted by Liv Morgan and Sarah Logan. Riott hit another Riott kick, but Rousey kicked out once again. Riott missed a senton attempt, and Rousey went for the armbar, but Logan and Morgan pulled her out of the ring. Rousey would then go to the top rope and nail Liv Morgan. Rousey would go to the top rope and dive off the top rope to the outside on all the women, barely landing on them. Riott seemed to set up what would have been a reverse Hurricane Rana, but Rousey caught her in a similar position, kind of like McIntyre's reverse Alabama Slam, and sent her hard face first into the top turnbuckle. This looked devastating. She then applied the armbar, made her tap out. 1, 2, 3. Well, not even 1, 2, 3. She tapped out and won. And then, after the match, Liv Morgan and Sarah Logan run in. Ronda puts Liv on her shoulders for her Piper's Pit Samoan drop, kicks Sarah in the gut. Sarah falls out of the ring. She hits the move on Liv. That's it. And then I realize, that's it. The show's over. What? That was it? Flat finish to the show. Really seemed like there was going to be more. No Becky, no Charlotte. I get why the no Becky thing. Triple H said if she showed up again, she'd be arrested, but no Charlotte was very odd. I would have liked to at least seen Ronda win, Ronda fight off Liv Morgan and Sarah Logan, and then as Ronda's trying to get her composure, Charlotte walks out on the top of the ramp and just stares at Ronda. Ronda stares back, and that's how the show goes off the air. We needed something. Because this was just bleh, meh. So, that was Raw. It was an okay show. I felt like the show probably could have been better if the crowd was more into it. The crowd really just took me out of a lot of these matches. But at the same time, there were some matches that went way longer than they should have that took time from other matches that could have been better. So now, I want to hear from you guys. I want to hear what you guys thought of tonight's Monday Night Raw. What you guys thought of tonight's show. But before that, I do want to tell you guys about a special live stream we've got coming up in just a few weeks. Not even a few weeks. A week from this Wednesday. We will be streaming some more What Wrestling. Yes, wrestling has a tomorrow. Pro Wrestling Unlimited and Wrestling Has a Tomorrow has teamed up again for our second live stream of the year. Join us Wednesday, February 27th, right here on the Pro Wrestling Unlimited YouTube channel for a free indie wrestling event stream featuring former ECW champion Tommy Dreamer, current NXT superstars Danny Burch and Keith Lee, hardcore icon Matt Trenton, JT Dunn, Jimmy Jacobs, and more. Discover tomorrow's talent today. The stream will begin at 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific, and then it will go right into our normal PW Unlimited Wednesday show. So basically, show up at 10 or 7, depending on what coast you live on, and stay all the way till midnight. Midnight if you're on the East Coast, because we're going to have a lot of live streams for you that night. We'll have the 2-hour What Wrestling live stream, and then we'll have another 1-hour live stream of our normal PW Unlimited podcast. We can't wait to see you guys there. So with that now, like I said, I want to hear from you guys. I want to hear what you guys thought of tonight's Monday Night Raw. So let's take some calls. Caller, you're on the air. What's going on?
Hey Tim, I wanted to ask you before I get to my questions. How did you feel about the NXT, not call-ups, but them being on the show tonight?
Well, I mean, the way they phrased everything, it felt like call-ups to me. Especially, I don't know if you noticed, but once Triple H did his introduction on Raw tonight, they posted the video on social media, and it said basically, let me pull it up. I have the tweet right here. It said basically Triple H introduces the new WWE superstars. So with them calling them new WWE superstars, that basically leads me to believe that they are on the main roster now, because they don't call the NXT guys WWE superstars. They're NXT superstars. I think for the most part, Gargano and Champa were used greatly, but Aleister Black and Ricochet, in my opinion, were just new guys on the show. Nothing special.
Yeah, that's my problem with it. I think the only person who should get called up is Aleister Black and Ricochet, because Gargano and Champa have so much more to do down there. So,
I mean, yes and no. I want to say thank you for the call. Yes and no. They have so much more to do. I mean, Champa maybe not. I know. Sorry about that. Champa maybe not has much more to do. I mean, when you think about it, Gargano hasn't won the championship, and everyone's assuming he's going to win the championship. I've been saying for a while that he should beat Champa at NXT. It's now called NXT TakeOver Blacklist Brooklyn or something like that. There's a weird name for it. But WrestleMania weekend. But if they're getting called up, maybe that doesn't happen. But I don't know. It was very interesting that they had the champions come up. That they used the champions. Now, this isn't the first time this has happened. Remember when Sasha was called up with Charlotte and Becky? She was still NXT Women's Champion and kept that title for at least almost 2 months before she lost it to Bayley. Also, when Kevin Owens first came up to the main roster and challenged John Cena in his U.S. Open Challenge, he also was still the NXT champion. So, I mean, it could happen. Let's take another call. Caller on the air, what's going on?
Oh. Hello, Tim. How's it going? How are you doing? Having a wonderful night?
Pretty good. Yourself?
The only thing, I'm doing all right, pretty good. Well, except for the Raw. But Raw was weird because the NXT guys, they did magnificently, if you ask me. But the crowd killed it, everything. And Aleister Black was painful to watch. It really, truly was. That's disgraceful. That's truly disgraceful.
Yeah.
And what about the 6 original ones that were called up? Like, are
Who
they just
knows?
forgotten now?
I mean, EC3 and Nikki Cross weren't even on this show. Lars Sullivan, we don't know what's going on with him, unfortunately.
It's like someone told me in another channel, like someone said, it's worthless. They were worthless. There's no point.
I mean, from what I heard,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was just saying, from what I heard, basically Vince just was like, we need to do something. We need to shake things up a little bit. Who can we get? And it was like, bring up some big names, like just randomly. Apparently, nobody on the SmackDown roster knew about this, and basically nobody other than these 4 from NXT knew about this either.
They just brought them up for nothing.
Well, I don't know if
no.
Go for it.
And I was saying creative genius for nothing. Like, they didn't have any plans for them. Nothing at all.
Now, I don't know if these 4 that came up tonight are nothing. I could say that those original 6 were probably for nothing because the way they've used them. But the way that I've heard it, it's like they may have an idea for these guys. These guys are the 4 biggest stars right now in NXT. And here's my issue with that. If you pull too many big stars out of NXT, then what do you have left in NXT is the problem.
And I know that's right, but yeah, he's a champion for God's sakes. He can't lose it yet.
I mean, that really doesn't mean much because Kevin Owens came up to the main roster, still NXT champion. Sasha came up to the main roster, still NXT Women's Champion. So,
but isn't Velveteen Dream champion? What's up with that? That was weird.
Let me preface this before anybody gets mad in the chat. I'm going to say it right now. Spoiler alert. So what happened? Now, first thing you have to think of is NXT is a taped show. So they did tape Gargano versus Champa with the NXT North American Championship on the line. That match does not air till this Wednesday. So whether coming out of that match, Dream is the new champion or not, Gargano still needs to be holding that title wherever he goes because it has not aired yet. Yes, it's technically taken place, but it has not aired. So to the actual audience that doesn't want spoilers or doesn't go to the NXT tapings, then they don't know about that match yet. Well, they know about the match, but they don't know about the finish. So apparently what happened, for anybody unaware, some are saying they may have filmed 2 finishes. One finish sees Velveteen Dream just win clean in the middle of the ring, and he celebrates with the belt. But then it was kind of weird what happens next. It looked as if everything was over, but then Johnny Gargano came back in and attacks Velveteen Dream. He then puts him in the Gargano escape, and Dream taps out. I don't know if the bell rang.
So it's a false finish.
No. I don't know if this was just Gargano attacked him after the match, or they filmed 2 finishes in case they didn't know which finish they really wanted to go with.
Oh, okay. I understand completely.
Because here's the thing. I spoke with 2 different people that were there. One person said it felt like they filmed 2 finishes. But the other person stated that it felt like they filmed the one finish with Velveteen Dream winning the title, and then Johnny Gargano attacked him and did the heel thing of stealing the title, saying, no, I want to still be the champion. That's my title. You don't get to beat me for my title, and just left with the title. So we don't know how this is all going to play out on Wednesday when they do air it on NXT.
Oh, okay.
Because even the people that were there were confused on what happened.
Oh, okay. Damn, I wanted to something else. I can't think of it right now. But the Ronda thing. Did you talk about the Ronda fight? Did you get that, or did you see that too, or no?
What's about what?
The top rope Ronda and that.
Yeah.
Oh god, that was hilarious. All right, Tim. Well, thanks. I just wanted your opinion on this stuff.
Right.
I can't remember my other question, but all right. Thanks, and have a good night. It was nice talking to you. Thank you.
Thanks for the call. Have a great night.
No problem.
All right, so let's take another call here. If you guys do want to call in, 559-475-8473. Caller, you on the air? What's going on?
Hey, Tim, what's going on?
How's it going?
Oh, pretty good. I have a couple of things that kind of slowly trends into the next thing. But first thing is, what's going on with Ambrose, man? I mean, do they? I don't know. He's been losing to EC3, and then he lost to McIntyre within like 30 seconds. I mean, yeah, I know he's leaving, but still.
I mean, he's leaving, so he's just going to do the jobs. He's going to be the guy that loses all the time to get everybody else over. There's no reason to push him if he's leaving.
Well, I'm not going to say push him, but honestly, though, do they really want us to believe that Ambrose or Rollins would come out to help him?
I mean, that's the thing. He's supposed to now, to me, he's just a geek. I mean, why else would he just walk up and slap a McIntyre for no reason?
Yeah. But next thing is like the whole story lines with Lio Rush and Lashley and how he forgave him and stuff. That's been happening a lot the past couple of years where they just drop storylines real fast. They had with Bayley and Sasha too last year.
I mean, we don't even know if he forgave Lio Rush. I mean, for all we know, I could fantasy book this right now. Maybe Bobby Lashley's got short-term memory loss and forgot that he attacked Lio Rush after the match.
That's interesting. But but the last thing is with Bayley and Sasha, and I have a small little fantasy booking for WrestleMania. Now, I enjoyed last year when Braun Strowman had that mystery partner, and it was kind of a little mystery. And yeah, I know how it ended up, but I enjoyed guessing. So here's the thing: so Sasha and Bayley next week or a couple weeks are in the middle of the ring, cutting the promo, and all of a sudden two people like jumpsuits attack them. It doesn't have to be the people that they're facing. Just two other wrestlers just attack them, and then. Triple H comes out. Well, whoever attacked you, that's your WrestleMania opponent, and then that can be whoever you want. It can be the Iconics, it can be Trish and Lita, it can be the Bellas. It doesn't matter, but it's still a mystery. And I think they should take this from Bayley and Sasha.
Interesting way.
I just think that'd be kind of cool because Braun Strowman had that mystery partner, and I was really interested.
Right.
So it gets people interested.
Right.
So, okay, cool. Thanks for taking my call, man.
All right, thanks for the call. Have a great night. All right. Let's see what you guys are saying in the chat before we go take more calls. If you do want to call in, 559-475-8473. Again, 559-475-8473 is the phone number to call if you want to give your opinions on tonight's very odd Monday Night Raw. Oh, here we go. The Viper Chrissy says, I was at Raw. Really? So, here's my question then to you, the Viper Chrissy. Was the crowd as bad as it came off on TV? Or did it just not come off that well on TV? Let me know in the live chat how the crowd felt being there live. Was the crowd really just not into it? Do they not know who the NXT guys were? I want to know. While I wait for you to get back to me in the chat, let's take a call. Caller, you're on the air. What's going on?
Hello, Tim. How are you tonight?
Pretty good. Yourself?
Yes, I'm doing very well. Very good Elimination Chamber match last night. And let me give you a little thing. That crowd, I blame, in the Cajun Dome in Lafayette, Louisiana, really sucks when those 4 NXT guys showed up, because the average viewer, it's simple. You go to the WWE Network or you watch it on YouTube, you see who these guys are, you break it down like that. And also, I don't know why, I hope Vince McMahon in the near future does not do another Monday Night Raw in Lafayette, Louisiana. That's for sure.
I mean, the Viper Chrissy here in the chat, who says they were there, said that to them it felt like the crowd was hyped and they were really into Aleister Black, but it didn't come off like that on TV.
Maybe the higher ups at USA Network. I have no idea. But let's just say this, heaven forbid.
Okay.
If Stone Cold Steve Austin ever showed up in Lafayette, Louisiana on tonight's Raw and would have had a beer bash, would that crowd ever be would be cheered, or would just be dead, like dead air?
I mean, I would hope they'd cheer for Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Yes, I hope so too. Because they I don't know if maybe it was because of the first match of tonight, or maybe because of something. I have no idea.
Yeah, I have no clue what happened either. Like I said, this person in our live chat is saying that the crowd, to them, seemed like they were really hyped up and stuff, especially for the Aleister Black thing. But again, when we watch it on TV, it didn't come off that way. So it's very weird. But
yeah, it is very weird.
But here's the one thing. You're in the cage. This person that's saying this is in the Cajun Dome with however many people around them. So they're hearing just the people around them being hyped up, not everybody in the building being hyped up. So it could just be perception as far as where you're sitting, not everybody overall.
If those guys ever showed up, okay, Tim, but if those guys ever showed up on SmackDown tomorrow night in New Orleans, you bet your bottom dollar that people would definitely get all happy if those 4 NXT guys showed up.
And that is the big question. We don't know if they're going to show up tomorrow or not.
But in New Orleans, which is like a huge crowd, when they showed up after WrestleMania, it's crazy.
It's the difference of Lafayette that doesn't have hardcore fans. It's just families that wanted to go see the show with their, moms, dads, kids. And then New Orleans that does have those hardcore fans that do know more than just, hey, Roman Reigns, John Cena, Seth Rollins, Brock Lesnar.
Oh, yes. But, Brock is a big money draw, but he won't show up, until until he goes to the big cities, until his schedule is like really cleared up, and also he needs to be prepared for WrestleMania when he goes to New York, New Jersey, which is a big money town.
Exactly.
Thank you, Tim. But one more quick question.
Sure.
Last night at Elimination Chamber, I give a huge MVP to Kofi Kingston. He worked his butt off. He did very well, but in the end, Daniel Bryan won. But I have tons of respect for Kofi. He did very good.
I would have to agree there, but at the same time, it's not just Kofi. Daniel Bryan, he looked very good as well, and it's not just one guy, because it could have been. Now, I'm not taking anything away from Kofi, but Daniel Bryan also gave him a lot to make him look good.
Oh, yes. Would that be a huge match? Because a lot of people, the internet is speculating now. They want Kofi Kingston versus Daniel Bryan at this year's WrestleMania would be a very good investment.
Not for WWE. I do not see them doing Kofi versus Daniel Bryan at WrestleMania. Maybe Fastlane, but I do not see that being the WrestleMania match for one reason. Kofi has been in nothing more than a gimmick tag team stable for the last 4 years. You can't just have somebody who's been a gimmick guy throwing pancakes and cereal to the crowd for 4 years all of a sudden be a challenger. The crowd's not gonna, the hardcore fans will accept it, but the normal fans will not accept that. It's like saying, hey, EC3's coming up from NXT, and he's also challenging Daniel Bryan for the title of Mania. It's like, really? This guy? They need to, if they want to make Kofi a main event contender, They need to build him up over the next couple of months, and maybe at like Money in the Bank or SummerSlam, they can really push him as that contender.
Yes, that's a very good idea, Tim. And also, but what about Mustafa Ali? If he's coming back from injury, he licks his wounds off, and he faces Daniel Bryan. Would that be a good match for WrestleMania, or would it be like AJ Styles versus Daniel Bryan for the billionth time now?
I wouldn't want to see AJ, and I think Ali would work because we've already seen them pushing Ali as a major star. Ali's pinned Daniel Bryan once, almost pinned him that first match. Him and Daniel Bryan have done great things together in the ring. So we've seen them already establish Mustafa Ali as a contender. But it's the thing with Kofi is just like, you can't just have him all of a sudden after 2 matches. Ali has been being brought up and, I guess you could say, elevated over the last month and a half. Unfortunately, he did get hurt. Was supposed to have those good showings in the gauntlet match and in the Elimination Chamber. But it's just unfortunate that he got hurt and couldn't do it. Kofi took that spot, took full advantage of it, and I'm not taking anything away from Kofi because he worked his ass off in both matches. But, I mean, we'll see where it goes. Again, I don't think they should do Kofi versus Daniel Bryan at WrestleMania because it would just be a kind of flat match. It would be a good match, but I don't know how much the actual Mania crowd would get behind it because you need to build Kofi up. After being a gimmick guy for 4 years, you can't just go from... It's like saying, all right, Kurt Hawkins, he's lost 260 matches in a row. He won last week. Now he's going to challenge Daniel Bryan. It's like you can't just throw somebody that hasn't been doing a lot, especially as a singles guy, not even being a singles guy with Kofi. So build them up before you make them a challenger. But let's take another call. Take 2 more calls. Caller on the air, what's going on?
Hey, how's it going there, Tim?
Pretty good, yourself?
Not too bad. Of course, you can probably hear in the background, I'm listening to the show. It's kind of odd as far as the show tonight. It did seem pretty dead. I mean, I don't know what that fan had going on her end or anything like that, but it just... I mentioned this because I was watching another review stream earlier in the night. It feels kind of like, to me, there's a bit of a malaise from the plans that they used in favor of Roman, and that might have set a bad precedent for not just this, but at least some of the other shows. It hasn't been the case everywhere and every time, but I think tonight was a good example of that.
Now, I want to ask you, what do you mean by plants in place for Roman?
Just the ones that, when so many people were booing him, they just had to have people that were actually cheering him or whatever it was that they were trying to do to help.
Here's my question. Have you ever been to a live event that Roman Reigns was at?
Honestly, no. I got to admit that.
So Roman Reigns at live events usually gets more cheers than boos. There are people that actually cheer for Roman Reigns. I had never heard before that they had plants in the crowd to cheer for Roman. It was just, here's the thing. When you go to a live event, it was just like with John Cena. 50-50, chance, boos. But when it comes to TV, it's the same thing. Roman and Cena, when it comes to TV, the cool thing to do is boo them at TV. But when you go to those live events, they were getting some good cheers, especially both guys were really treated the same. Men, for the most part, would boo them, but the women and children would cheer them. And I saw this a couple of times at different house shows that I've been at.
Okay, well, here's the thing about that. It's interesting that you say that because I've actually been to a live event where Cena was featured, and I've heard a fair share of boos for him. I mean, you would think that wouldn't be as common, but it's happened.
Well, I'm not saying that they don't get boos at all. But I'm saying it's more cheers at live events than you do here on TV because the casual fans, or not the casual fans, but the hardcore fans that go to the TV tapings think it's cool to boo them on TV because that's not what WWE wants.
Yeah, this is true. There's definitely I don't know what the word is that you want to use for that, but there's definitely a clash of sorts when it comes
Right.
to, I guess, the hardcores or the smarks or however you want to refer to them, and creative or Vince or whoever. But I don't know. It just struck me as kind of wild because it just felt like there was some residue of that. But at the same time, I mean, I just didn't really see any reason for it to be as dead. I mean, as you mentioned, you have these, I don't know if you call them call-ups or showcases or just whatever it is. I mean, there just should have been a lot more energy for that. The matches were better than they've been probably in the last few weeks, months, or however long it's been.
Right.
And it just...
Oh, go for it.
No, I mean, all I was going to say is that I felt like that was real deflating. It definitely would have been better to see either Becky and or Charlotte show up to some capacity at the end of the night, but then they just ended the way that they did. I mean, it just makes you wonder what they were going for.
I mean, it was very telling at the beginning of the show when Triple H mentioned NXT, didn't get a reaction, so he did it again to try and get a reaction and still didn't get much of a reaction.
Yeah, and that should never happen.
Because he literally said, "This is live TV. Let's try that again."
Right. That. I mean, I didn't catch that part, but I did hear a lot about that. I was actually late getting into the show, but if you gotta have Triple H, who is pretty much the founding father of sorts of NXT, and he's got to go that far just to get a reaction, that's a very bad sign.
Exactly.
So I wish I knew what to say about that, but
I mean, it was just very odd.
Yeah. So with that being said, I guess speaking of Triple H, what were your thoughts as far as the induction of DX? And I guess they were replacing the Hart Foundation in the Hall of Fame.
I heard that rumor, but that's all it is a rumor because I did not have that confirmed to me. I heard two different rumors. I'm not going to bring them up because they sounded very preposterous to me. But it looks like maybe the Hart Foundation is no longer going in. I don't know why. But at the same time, one would think that if they're going to put DX in, they've had to have had this plan for a little while, because they're even putting Billy Gunn, who's now working for AEW. And the interesting thing there is, why would they put an AEW guy in the Hall of Fame? Maybe he confirmed they agreed to all this before he signed on to work for AEW. So,
well, there's that, but there's also the fact that they inducted the Dudley Boys, and Bubba or Bully Ray, he works for ROH. And
very true. I mean, Rick did go in with the Horsemen when he was still in TNA.
Right.
But with that, I want to say thank you for the call and have a great night.
Thank you. You too.
All right, let's take a final call here. Caller in the air, what's going on? Caller, going once. Twice. Lost him. We'll take one final call. If you guys do want to be the final caller of the night, 559-475-8473. We'll read the chat while we wait for one final call to come in. A lot of you are just talking about how bad this crowd was, but let's take this one last call. Caller in the air, what's going on?
Hey, Tim, how's it going?
Pretty good. Yourself?
Doing well. My question was about I just kind of wanted your opinion. So Sasha and Bayley are your new champions, but don't you think it's kind of a little too obvious of them winning the titles? Like, don't you think maybe it could have been like Sonya and Mandy, or the Iconics? Like, don't you think it's a little too obvious them winning the titles? Like, what's your opinion on that?
I mean, that's exactly what I was saying leading up to this match, that you need a heel team to win this. It should have been a heel team that won those titles, so then Bayley and Sasha can be the baby faces that scratch and claw to beat those heels, and then maybe they win them at WrestleMania, making it, yes, being the first champions is a big deal, but at the same time, them winning the titles at Mania, some may see as an even bigger deal. So I felt like somebody like the Iconics or Mandy and Sonya really should have won these titles. They could have been the annoying heels that said, hey, we're the first champions. This means a lot to us, but haha, we're better than all of you. Not just Sasha and Bayley coming out there and crying about it, saying this means a lot and not really doing much with it.
Yeah, that makes sense. My other question was, what was I going to say? Oh, yeah, these NXT call-ups today on Raw, like, what was that about? Was that announced? Was that ever, like, that just kind of caught me really off guard?
Many people did not know about this, and I mean many people in the company did not know about this. From what I've heard, basically these 4 guys were the only 4 guys from NXT that knew this was happening. Nobody on the SmackDown brand knew this was happening. Not many before they showed up on the Raw brand knew this was happening. Basically, from what I heard, Vince just all of a sudden, I don't know when, maybe last night or today, this morning, I don't know, but just said, we need to shake things up again. Let's call somebody else up. And so they brought in these 4 guys. Now, I don't know if they're permanent call-ups. Ricochet did say that this is not the last we'll see of him. They did reference these 4 guys as new WWE superstars, not NXT superstars. So it does lead me to believe that this could be a call-up, especially with Ciampa and Gargano beating the Raw Tag Team Champions. So I think, in that light, those 2 are used well. But with Black and Ricochet, like I said earlier, I feel like they could have been used a little bit better. They just kind of seemed like, hey, here's 2 new guys. Nothing special, though, especially with Ricochet just running out there to help Finn. Didn't get his entrance or anything.
Yeah, but wouldn't it make sense for Gargano and Ciampa to drop their titles, like before they come up? Or like, how's that going to work?
Yes and no. We don't know if Gargano is still going to be the champion after Wednesday when they do air the match where he defends the title against Velveteen Dream. And as far as Ciampa goes, like I said earlier, when Kevin Owens first came up, he was still NXT champion. When Sasha first came up, she was still NXT Women's Champion for almost 2 months. So it has happened before where the champions do come up to the main roster, hold their titles a little bit longer, and then lose them.
Yeah. Well, just going to have to see how it plays out then.
Right.
All right. Well, thanks, Sam. Appreciate it.
Call and have a great night. All right. So with that, I do want to say thank you guys for joining me here talking tonight's Monday Night Raw. Very weird Monday Night Raw, really mainly because of that crowd. Again, a little housekeeping. Keep it locked here on the Pro Wrestling Unlimited YouTube channel. As a week from Wednesday, we will be airing some more What Wrestling has it tomorrow. That will be starting. It will be February 27th. The live stream of matches will begin at 7 p.m. Pacific, 10 p.m. Eastern. We will be running matches with Tommy Dreamer, Danny Burch, JT Dunn, Keith Lee, and others. And, of course, always follow us right here on Pro Wrestling Unlimited. Follow us on YouTube. Follow us on Twitter, Facebook.com. Follow us on Facebook, Facebook.com/Pro Wrestling ULTD. And follow us on Twitter at PW Unlimited. And also, if you want more than just pro wrestling news, go check out our buddies over there at Fightful. Fightful.com. You can follow them on social media. Fightful Online, Fightful MMA, Fightful Wrestling, Fightful Boxing. If you want some MMA and boxing news, go check out the Fightful MMA and Boxing YouTube channel where they do their weekly, I think it's Tuesdays, MMA show with Sean Ross Sapp and Showdown Joe. And I think there's a third guest. I can't remember his name right now. But if you guys, like everything we do, but want more, go check out Fightful. With that, I want to say thank you for joining me here in the live stream. Thank you for watching later if you were unable to watch live. And we will be live again tomorrow night following SmackDown Live. We'll see you then. Good night, guys.